it must be interesting for you now, having young kids and kind of going over your lifetime. Marine ecosystems around Ireland and globally have changed quite dramatically. Like, what do you kind of see, or what are your, like, what I know you're like, you have a deep care for the sea and the ocean and the ecosystems and biodiversity within them. And what have you kind of seen in your lifetime, and what do you kind of worry for your kids going forward?
Yeah, I guess I'm shocked at the acceleration of the change, like how rapid it is. Like, one human lifetime is absolutely nothing in the scale of, the Earth's history of 4 billion years. So the fact that we're, creating what should be happening in sort of geological time is happening in just like one generation is pretty scary. I think the ocean, it holds so much of the answers and solutions we need in the crisis we face with in particular with the climate crisis and biodiversity loss, but it's also suffering the most because it's really acting as our buffer to a lot of the changes that are happening. And so even just to see things like the shift in there's a few different layers of looking at it. I think growing up as a surfer, especially like pre-technology and smartphones and surf forecasting apps, so you're having to learn to actually read weather patterns over time, and put out the low pressure chart out of the back of the newspaper and put it in a scrapbook that me and my dad used to keep, and we'd write in then what the surf was like when the swell arrived a few days later. But I don't think they don't even print that anymore in the newspaper. Or the stoke of getting to stay up as a kid, like past 9 o'clock to see like the full weather report, where they'd also show the storms and the low pressure chart so we could predict the swell.
Wow.
That was just normal. But I guess my point being then, those weather patterns, you kind of just accumulate a lifetime of observational knowledge because you're so immersed in the sea in a way most people aren't. And that I suppose, other people whose livelihoods that are tied to it, like people who fish and so on, would certainly be aware. But that's just changing. It's so unpredictable now. I'm trying to understand what this, even the patterns of surf, how fast the storms are moving, the frequency of them, the intensity, and then of course the water temperature being the other massive change, and then that affecting the whole the species that we're seeing or not seeing. And even like beachcombing is one of my favorite things to do to kind of like ground myself. And now, like when I grew up as a kid, I never really saw any plastics. That I can recall, and now it's just totally commonplace. It's going to be so normal when my kids are doing it that it's just, of course, there's going to be microplastics.
Sea glass. Do you find sea glass where you are? That was a hobby me and my kids used to do.
Yeah,
we'd go comb on the beach for sea glass, and we'd find green ones and light green ones,
blue one was always
and brown ones.
one.
But a blue one was always really special when you got a blue one.
And then you fill like the bottles up with them at home. The mermaid's tears, they're sometimes called.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Them and the mermaid's purse, like finding a shark egg case was always a good one too. Yeah.
That's a good special one. Wow, pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, there was even a dad showed me an article there recently, which was really like I couldn't believe it. Like he was saying that across in Newcastle in England, that there was recordings of showing that the sea temperature had gone up by 15 degrees. Like something crazy like that, where the sea temperature gone up so much that it was there was all sorts of species, something that was going on. And it was the first time that, like, very close to Ireland, where you're going, oh my God, the sea temperature. It was an article in the Guardian or whatnot.
I think that was the highest it had been in 150 years.
Yeah.
I think that was it more accurately.
Yeah, I didn't do the best. Whatever that paraphrasing is, not pulling out the sensational one line.
But yeah, because I mean, if you think about the ocean now, like the volume of water we're talking about here, and to change its temperature, do you know when you run in a bath and you're trying to like get the temperature right, it can take quite a while. It's too hot, and then it takes you to run the cold for ages before the temperature will shift. But I was just thinking about that with the ocean, to alter the temperature of a body of water that big, even by 1 degree, is massive amount of input in terms of heat that it's absorbing. And so when I go back again, how the ocean breathes for us, like that the oxygen is released by phytoplankton, which again really depends on the mixing and exchange of cold and warm waters.
Phytoplankton are like little baby fish.
They're microscopic plants that then the zooplankton feed on, which are like really teeny tiny, like the main food source for all life in the ocean. But yeah, so and they're in decline kind of across the board in the world's oceans. So in fact, the thing that gives us oxygen to breathe on this planet is rapidly declining. I just don't know why there isn't more panic about that.
But we have better Wi-Fi. We have much better Wi-Fi. No, sorry, I'm being cynical.
David Flynn. It's unlike you, David.